Right, dude. Good event, you know, rocking and rolling, moving and shaking.
Guard me hard at the backyard of First Street. It's all yours, Greg. Hey Ben, what's up? What's up, dog? Can I give you a call in like 10? I'm doing an interview actually. Watching what? Who's playing? Mets? Are they kicking ass? Sweet. Okay, I'll call you in 5.
What's happening?
Tell me your name. Tell me your relationship to Tim.
Pat Walsh, met Tim, Pat Walsh, met Tim at University of South Carolina, was his roommate back in 1986, I believe. You know, what can I say about T.S. Barron? He gave me my handle, my graffiti tag name, Pat Rock. I didn't get up much, but you know, that was a cool thing. It was always cool to see your name and written in a cool way, and Tim was always doodling around and giving people tags, you know, and making them feel really comfortable and excited about themselves. So, he's a cool dude.
We'll just jump right into that physical
Yeah,
stuff.
excellent.
When Tim, and you can say it back to me how you want. When Tim started, his body started breaking down. He was having trouble walking and stuff. I remember when you found out, you came and you were like really wanting to be involved, not letting his, motor neural skills, whatever, break down. Tell me what you were thinking and how you wanted to.
No, I remember Tim first going to the doctor, a little bit confused, and they said Lou Gehrig's disease, and I said you really check as many opinions as you have to check to get the answer that you're looking for, because the answer that you're looking for is mainly in yourself. You know, I had experienced the Lou Gehrig disease in a next door neighbor. They were both doctors. The woman was a doctor, and her husband was a doctor, and they were directors at a hospital. So I've had some background of Lou Gehrig's disease, and I never wanted to kind of show my hand to that. What happens, because basically you don't get better from Lou Gehrig's disease, and you know, once you kind of give in to knowing that, you know, or thinking that, you're basically giving up the ship, you know. And I know Tim as a fighter, and I think that you know, he you know, I think it was a step in the right direction as being diagnosed as something different. It's just, you know, you have to change the recipe, and you have to. I mean, you know, who knows what it's going up against? And everybody that's gone up against it has lost, you know. But I believe in Tim so much that I think that he could be the one that could prevail, you know. And you know, I need to help more, you know. Like, I need to get in there and help Tim and stretch him, and because I felt the time that I've spent with him, and you know, it's been very minimal, but I think that I see. When working with him, I see definitely change for the positive. And I don't know if, you know, what could be done or whatever, but I know that if there's some kind of improvement, and if it's even just minute, something very small, that maybe that could be the change. And if it gets momentum, maybe it could you know, have a positive result. So that was one of the times I went out there. I came out to see the new space, and Tim was going to help me out, come into Brooklyn and stuff, and I was excited. I came out not really knowing the severity of what was going on, and it was really a kind of a down, you know, it was definitely going down pretty fast, but the seriousness at which it was taken, you know, walking around with a golf club and all that kind of stuff, you can only sustain so many extra falls. And you have to minimize the danger. You have to get out by the open air and that kind of stuff. And who knows, maybe that wouldn't help, and maybe that's a dead end. And some people are going to see a different route. Some people see other routes. To me, I'm always going to look at the positive side of things. And Timmy is a trendsetter. He's a warrior. He's a fighter. If anybody could crack the code, it could be him. And I think, I have to, try to empower him to do that. And, and you're always going to fight two sides. I tell my mother about it, and she's like, he's got Lou Gehrig's disease, and he's got this, and and I'm like, well, Mom, and there's no getting through to my mother. She's experienced it in many people. She's seen the next door neighbor, and it's something that, very few people are going to believe in. But I think Tim could be one of those guys that can prevail and really be like the miracle person. But it's not a miracle. It's just hard work, tenacity, believing and believing to the point where people think you're a crackpot. I know people think I'm a crackpot for actually saying that, but that's what I believe. It's rough for someone to say the end, and looking into Tim's eyes and seeing him invent the mission statement and the gloves. His mind's working really well, his body's not working well, but knowing that there is something inside this kid that could really, take over, maybe push it to the other side. It's not what everybody wants to hear. I might be the only one saying that, and I don't want to give up hope until there's no hope left. And I think this is amazing, man. This whole event is just awesome, because of just everything, all the stresses of life. And, maybe this is the thing that could kick it into a different kind of different world, and I don't know. We've always Tim and I have always had that, really clash, We've always, our whole relationship has always been about that. And then I give a lot, and I'm in New York probably because of Tim, because Tim turned me on to New York. And then there was a while that Tim loved South Carolina and the beach, and he was thinking about that. And that might have been maybe a little bit of me, or, and like Emmett was saying, Tim is in a lot of us, and so are, you're in Tim and you're in me, and everybody, you're a culmination of the people that you meet and that you hang out with. So I'm just hoping for some kind of, I don't know, recipe change or some kind of jolt or whatever, or maybe it's getting Tim on 7th Avenue and checking out the traffic and seeing the other people walking by, whatever, maybe it's the fresh air, anything that can shake up the system, So, and I'm going to try, I'm going to try to get over there and do what I can, without committing to anything. I'm going to, Tim is like a dear friend to me. He's definitely an inspiration to me. He's an artist of, crazy, multiples. He's everything the guy does is creative, and he's just a really great guy, and I'm gonna try to do anything that I can to support the direction that I think that he should go in. I'm not going to join any other direction, but I think that he's got to keep belief and hope and pray and whatever else is going to push into a positive direction. And I know he's cool with if I die tomorrow or whatever. I just know having Tim around is a great thing. So. And it could impact a lot of people. And if he's the one that could pull it off, because none of the other people could pull it off. No one's beat Lou Gehrig's disease. Lou Gehrig's didn't beat Lou Gehrig's disease, and he was a tough mug, Tim could be the guy that could do that, and he could